Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and as always, I'm grateful you've joined us for another episode where week after week I interview the most amazing leaders who bring their insights and inspiration to you. And just know I do this because I sincerely care about partnering with C-suite leaders to help them navigate challenges with confidence. And it is my honor this week to welcome onto the show Jeff Smith, who is a subsea and seabed warfare consultant with Poroy Global Advisors. Prior to recently joining PGA, Jeff was the VP General Manager for Autonomous and Undersea Systems at Saab, responsible for growing a new U.S. division focused on UUVs, ROVs, USVs, and autonomy. And over the past several years, Jeff has been selected as a UUV subject matter expert to participate in numerous war games and study panels focused on the future of undersea warfare. He also holds patents in robotics, electro-optical systems, rapid prototyping, so much more. Such a smart individual. And I am just so honored to welcome you, Jeff, onto the show.
Thank you, Deb. I appreciate being here. I'm looking
So
forward to our discussion.
I am as well. You are so smart, so accomplished. And again, I get the great honor of getting to know you. And to my listeners, I found Jeff because of his leadership, for his very, very unique background, for which I am so much looking forward to learning about his background. And he is going to share some amazing insights about starting up companies, leadership culture, et cetera. But Jeff, I want to hand the mic over to you to share a bit about yourself.
Thank you. I guess got my background in engineering. Almost a little over 30 years ago, I guess now. So I've been in the field for some time. I spent about half my career with a large defense prime, General Dynamics, where I kind of worked through all corners of the business. From there, I went to a much smaller company called Bluefin Robotics, where I stood up their program management activities and then ended up being their chief operating officer. I spent about 7 years with Bluefin, and at that point, I kind of realized that it was a good opportunity for me and a good time for me in the market to start my own thing. So, kind of the American dream. I started a company in my kitchen on my credit card, and worked with a bunch of really close friends, and we're had a good deal of success with that. In 4 years' time, we sold it to a large defense prime, BAE Systems. I spent a couple of years with BAE. I was actually going to start my own company again, and I had a phone call from Saab to stand up a division. So it was kind of the everything I wanted to do, and I didn't need to find an investor. So I just spent 3 years with Saab, standing up a new team in the U.S. And recently, I exited and kind of enjoying a semi-retirement, but kind of looking for the next big thing.
So thank you for that. I appreciate your conciseness. And one of the things that was kind of brought back a memory from way back when, I too am an engineer. And I remember being at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and they had these Cincinnati Millicron robots in like their engineering lab. I just remember robotics, and it was in my junior year that we had an engineering lab where we actually had to program, I don't know, it was BASIC or Fortran programming language to take a robotic arm and move in XYZ dimensions and actually stack blocks. And that was my beginning of my fascination with automation, with robotics, with manufacturing, taking something, nothing, and turning it into something, creating some kind of value. So I notice we have just kind of a common background in engineering and
Well, also
innovation and
RPI.
creating. Yeah. I sometimes call it Rensapoli Institutechnitude just to have a little bit of fun. I mean, engineers have fun, don't we?
I did my master's at RPI with in factory automation. So it was it was exciting times. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed robotics, and that actually really got me more on my start toward the robotics side of the industry.
And I certainly appreciate it because anytime I go into a manufacturing environment, often right now, lately, I'm in the flavors and food industry. And so they always have a packaging line. And some of them have been as sophisticated as just an arm coming down and picking up a box and rotating it. I just love the way of, operational efficiency, taking humans and putting where human value is needed and turning everything else to an automated system that can make things safer, faster, cheaper. So, yeah, okay, we could kind of nerd out on this a little bit for a while, but but would love to get into that. okay, I jumped ship and I started a business in a kitchen. And I constantly am talking to leaders out there that are enjoying very successful corporate careers. And maybe they're comfortable there, but sometimes they start feeling a little restless. They want to do something different. What was it in you that said, I'm going to take this leap of faith and mess up my kitchen and other people's lives in the process?
Um, it really was a leap of faith. I was at a point in the market where I was starting to get some recognition and be recognized as a market leader and a thought leader in the space. And I thought, it was a good point in my career to try to make myself money versus the companies I work for money. So um, it was a little bit self-serving, but I saw a gap in the space. I thought that we could do things differently from a lot of what the industry was doing at the time, and I pulled in a couple of really close friends, and we made it work pretty quickly.
You bring up a really good point, is having faith in yourself, taking a risk on yourself. And there's so many people out there that just don't. But again, like you said, you had your own thoughts, you believed in yourself, you pulled in your network and made things happen. Now, I'm sure it wasn't perfect from day one. You had to go dip into your own savings. I've had to do that as well, bootstrap my own business. But tell me a little bit more about, let's just talk about the successes. What was it along the way that you say, this thing is viable? This thing is going to take off? Because again, we want to hear the good stuff from entrepreneurship.
I've been really fortunate in my life and having some tremendous mentors, and people I can lean on. And, I went to dinner with a customer, with my prior company, Bluefin. And, it was during dinner that, I kind of had the idea on the flight down to meet him for dinner to tell him I was leaving Bluefin and I was thinking of starting my own business. And at that dinner, this gentleman, Michael Cutzlib, who started his own company himself in the undersea space, offered to back me. And I knew him, but I didn't know him great at the time. And I was flattered. And I was like, we know each other clearly, but what would make you do this? And he said some really, really nice things. And I was, if it wasn't for Mike, I wouldn't be where I am today.
All right, so that that is very encouraging to me because, well, I haven't had financial backing from other people. There are so many people along the way during my business venture, and I wouldn't say I'm completely sustainable. I've got a portfolio of income in the way I serve people, but I have a lot of people that are like silently clapping in the background. I got a mentor that says, Deb, I just want to see you succeed. And so I've got a lot of community support, a community backing, which I think is probably as important as the financial backing as well.
The downside with that story is that
The
he
ugly.
asked me how much I needed at dinner, and I didn't have a number in mind. So I actually went back. I put a business plan together. I came back to him. I asked for a fairly good amount of money, and he said, "Wow, that's way more than I was thinking." So we ended up really bootstrapping for a bit until I got quite desperate. I actually went back to him and said, "I'll take whatever you can give me," and that really got us going.
Oh, that's beautiful. Again, being persistent, and in the process, you learn something new. Again, I've developed business plans for myself, but again, it's a source of growth. You keep going back, you revise it, etc. So kudos to you for sharing the ups and downs. Now, just want to go a little bit though. So you feel very strongly about when you're in business, when you're working with a team of people, that building a strong team is critical. Like, what are the things that are important to you as you work in your company, work in the past, about building a strong team? What is unique to your style? I'd love to know a little bit more.
I think the biggest part is really trust and going by the background that people have. I'm a little bit hesitant to admit, but a lot of the people I've worked with actually I have a long history with, and Riptide actually, there were many of my fraternity brothers from undergraduate and college came on board the company, and I think what the benefit there is when you know somebody for 30, 35 years, it's just you don't need to really take the risk and build a new relationship, and you don't have the unknowns necessarily. And then once you kind of have that core team, everybody that is a part of that team has their own network. So we bring in most of the hires that we brought in throughout the different companies I've been with have been through the network of close connections. And that, recently, one of the guys that we hired sort of, adjacent to that, not directly a part of my network, one of the things he said after being there about a month was, it really seems like a family because everybody just knows each other so well and working together.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I see a lot with small and medium-sized businesses. They start out as a family, they've got a can-do attitude, they've got a wonderful culture. And yes, some of them are family or treated like family. And I remember interviewing a CEO of a company once, and he says, I love the fact that we're expanding, we're growing, we're serving customers, but I'm actually getting a little scared because I can't remember that person's name. I can't remember when their birthday is or something special about them. I mean, as a company or entity grows and you've got this great culture, you've got this great family, how do you preserve that family atmosphere even when you're growing by leaps and bounds?
That is a challenge, absolutely. And getting the right people that fit the model, fit the culture, that can work in that group, that's critical because a couple bad hires can really spoil an organization. And it's important to address it sort of early so that it doesn't have too much of an impact. But I guess my experience with corporate culture is you can't just say what you want your culture to be, right? It culture is really sort of a culmination of everybody that's in the organization and what they contribute. And you can end up with a great culture, or you can end up with something that you're not that happy with.
Mm.
And sort of picking and pruning to get the right group of people to go in the right direction is critical, and sort of getting the culture that you really need to succeed.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I did have a CEO of a company pick my brain. This person had a family atmosphere and never had to confront anybody because people just knew their job and did what they needed to. And then the organization changed a little bit. They brought in a partner, and their culture was different and didn't meld well with the current one. And it was challenging because, in lieu of confronting or having those critical conversations, it wound up eroding the overall culture of the organization. So it could be a detriment if you don't know how to have those conversations.
And I've been a part of different mergers and acquisitions and that, and something like that will really, if the cultures are different, things will go south quickly.
So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show. And again, you and I could talk leadership forever and ever, but oh my God, you've got such a super cool background. Talk to me about what does it mean to be a UUV subject matter expert participating in war games and undersea warfare. Tell me more about this stuff. This sounds so cool.
So my passion is the ocean, and it's over 70% of the earth. I grew up. My father was an avid scuba diver. I grew up watching Jacques Cousteau and thinking, how do we explore the ocean? And that really, coming out of college, I started working on submarines and submarines with General Dynamics. And then I got more into the remote systems, remotely operated vehicles, and unmanned undersea vehicles. And really just it's a hard environment, similar to space, but with a great deal more pressure. Cold, dark. The metals don't do well. Lots of pressure, all those different things. And then there's been tragedies. Obviously, the Titanic incident with the submersible not too long ago. Um, it's a great place for unmanned robotic systems, and that's really kind of where I ended up. And I just got back last night from a month scuba diving in the Caribbean. So I get in the water when I can, and I've been lucky in sort of getting into a market where I have a great deal of passion for the market area and the undersea exploration.
Exploration, and then you've got the Elons looking to get to Mars. And I've met a number of people in this exploration of wanting to get to Mars, wanting to get to Venus, and then underwater exploration. Again, it's fascinating. So I'm just curious, I mean, what are some of the, I don't know, challenges of this pursuit, just so my audience understands what are the challenges, but I also want to understand what are then the untapped opportunities. So let's go for challenges first.
Energy is a really big problem with undersea. It's why the U.S. Submarine Force is nuclear. Um, you know, Water is 800 times more dense than air, and drag is a coefficient of the density of the material you're in. So it takes a great deal of power to push something through the water, and a great deal of power to do it quickly. So most vehicles that on the undersea side, the unmanned side, are very slow. Right, they go at a knot or two to travel efficiently in the ocean, and they try to conserve power where they can. Excuse me, but There's also pressure, right? The Titanic submersible imploded from not being designed for the right amount of pressure that they were going to. Great deal of pressure at the depths that they were working. Um, Propulsion, efficiency, hydrodynamics, what your payloads are, integration, all the different sensors. It's underwater. If you're lucky, you have some decent visibility, but you can't really scan big areas, so you use acoustics. And the challenge underwater is sound doesn't go in one direction, right? It travels depending on what the water temperature is. It doesn't go in a straight line, and that makes communications tremendously challenging. Underwater positioning is really hard. You don't have GPS there, and then you rely on acoustics, which, as I said, don't go in a straight line. So there's a lot of issues.
Wow, very interesting. So if there's anybody out there that wants to learn more, definitely get in touch with you. But let's think about though then the opportunities. Again, certainly you're fascinated. What are the opportunities for this that society should maybe be aware of and more informed, more educated, or maybe even contribute more to it? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, most of the world's energy is coming from the oceans these days, and there's a lot to do with the oil and gas exploration. There's a lot to do with offshore wind installation. There's a lot of work in that commercial space. Plus, most of the global communications go undersea through fiber optics. They're not space based, so that's a big area right now. It's a vulnerability too if there's ever issues with with a non-friendly nation. We've seen it in the Baltic right now with some pipelines that have been taken out, and there's more of that. That's certainly in the future. And a big concern in the Western Pacific with China and Taiwan, obviously. So on the defense side, there's a lot of opportunities for undersea vehicles. It's sort of you get the benefit of stealth to a certain degree when you put things underwater. There's a lot of missiles and a lot of radars that can take out things that are anywhere close. So underwater, you have a lot more room to sort of play. And fortunately, the U.S. is a major dominant player in undersea warfare.
This is absolutely fascinating. Very,
The,
very cool. And
and the
I go ahead.
the other thing I will add, and it is a sort of a passion for me, is also treasure hunting and all that kind of thing. That when you have you look at all the gold that was taken from the North America and South America, during the Spanish days in the early exploration. You look at some of the World War II treasure that was looted. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's said that there's more things in the ocean than in every museum on the planet. So there's a lot to be found on that end too.
So it's not only a business passion, it's a personal passion. So what have been some treasures that you have found in all of your exploration or scuba diving?
Scuba diving, I've found some pottery. That's about it. But I am actually involved with a group right now that's looking in the Philippines for some treasure, mostly from World War II.
Oh my God, very fascinating. So let's just come back to you again. You talk about like you're kind of in well, first of all, congratulations for being able to take 3 to 4 weeks to scuba dive. Many people would love to do that, but what's next for you? What you said you're kind of thinking and contemplating what your next opportunity is. So if there's somebody out there, I want them to know where your talents lie and where do you want to go?
So I'm pretty happy. I'm in a good place, in my career. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me over the last several months of after exiting Saab to look for some new opportunities in C-suite positions. And there's also, there's some close friends I work with, Omar Poroy from Poroy Global Advisors, who I'm working with. There's a couple things that we're looking at for sort of new startups in the space as well, and sort of where the market gaps are, what's needed right now for the U.S. defense industry, and how we can sort of carve out a piece for that.
Very fascinating. So, this is inspiring to me because, again, I'm on a journey right now. The drop in CEO, reaching out to as many C suite leaders to give them the insights they need, but also to be in service to them. Um, we haven't talked much about the personal side. I don't often bring this into the podcast, but we've shared much about your technical career. And I would love to know, other than scuba diving, Fun facts about you, family, or what are some other, organizations that you're involved in?
So I'm involved with several not-for-profits. A couple of I'm on some boards for defense, the National Defense Industry Association, Blue Venture Forums, small business called the Aretê Associates, uh,
Mhm.
and that takes a good amount of time, and I enjoy those types of activities and sort of helping guide groups and organizations, where they need to go. On a personal side, as I said, I'm an avid scuba diver. I travel extensively. Um, I have I'm actually in the midst of a divorce right now, so I won't go much further there. But yeah.
So I appreciate that nonprofit space. And it's one of those things that you can go all in or just help out a little. I am the immediate past president of Women in Flavor and Fragrance Commerce. Love the organization, networking, education. Was also the secretary of the Cincinnati Curling Club. And that one took a bit more because again, boards are passionate. They've got a lot of talent, but sometimes you have to kind of herd them together to get through an agenda or actually make some decisions. So I appreciate that kind of work. I too, as I am in this fractional space, running my own business while I work a lot, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. I'm always thinking, doing, but I would love to do myself more of that volunteer work, that in-service work, just because I want to have more fun and not work as hard these days. Yeah, so I mean, this has been a really great interview. I've really enjoyed you sharing your insights, your inspiration. I do want to wish you good luck in whatever you're going to do. I know that if I reach out to you in about a month from now, you're going to say, okay, guess what? I'm in this startup now. So really appreciate you sharing your insights. But if you wanted to share any, last thoughts with my audience, I'd love for you to, share any, tips, tricks for anybody who's in business leadership and maybe how can people get a hold of you? Because I got some really interesting people in my network that may want to contact you, Jeff.
Yeah, phone or email are best. Phone is 617-820-4586. Email is jsmith.uuv@gmail.com. But yeah, I mean, you know, I guess from a career perspective and the things that really have done the best for me is, I can't say enough for the mentors I've had throughout my career. I've worked for some tremendous people, and they really gave me like a lot of the opportunity that I've been fortunate to have, and really guided me. And several of those people I'm still very close with. I'm actually going to dinner for Thanksgiving with one of my former CEOs, and looking forward to that. But it's important to have good mentors. It's important to have good allies in work, and it's important to believe in yourself and push forward.
I sincerely appreciate that. And I too am fortunate nowadays to have some mentors and people that have my back. It's almost the fuel to keep going. And sometimes while we're inside the cookie jar or we're so close to the work we're doing, we can't see all the wonderful stuff we're doing, or maybe where we need a course correction. So I can't speak enough, and like you as well, have that valuable network around you. And again, if this podcast can be that tool for you, so be it. Maybe Jeff Smith, if you love what he's doing and are interested, I would definitely, as you said, reach out to him to learn more. You never know, he might be that next great mentor for you. So, Jeff, I want to say thank you so much for being an amazing guest and dropping in, and I wish you well and continued success.
Thank you very much, Deb. I really enjoyed it.